There's a number on your dashboard that most drivers never look at, and it explains almost everything about why your fuel costs what it does. The average American driver spends somewhere in the range of $2,000 a year on gasoline. The average Japanese driver, on comparable annual mileage, spends dramatically less. Not because Japanese gasoline is cheaper. It isn't. It's more expensive per gallon than anything you'll find at an American pump. Not because their cars are magic. Half the cars on Japanese roads are the same models sold here with the same engines. The difference is a specific, teachable, repeatable method that Japanese drivers absorb almost by osmosis from the moment they get their license, and that American drivers are simply never told about. And I want to be honest with you about why that is. There is no conspiracy meeting where gas station executives sit around a table plotting to keep you uninformed. It's simpler and worse than that. Nobody in the chain of people you interact with when you own a car has any reason to teach you how to buy less of what they sell. The dealership sells you the car and moves on. The gas station wants volume. The manufacturer meets the EPA number and calls it a day. The only person in this entire system with a financial stake in your fuel efficiency is you. And nobody handed you the manual. So that's what today is. The manual. I'm going to take you through the complete method. Not tips, not tricks. A method, meaning a connected system where each piece supports the others. And by the time we get to the last part of this video, you're going to understand something about driving that will change what you notice through the windshield for the rest of your life. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe and drop a like. This is where mechanics tell you the things the industry would rather leave unsaid. Let's start with the foundation. Because before we talk about how you drive, we have to talk about what you're driving. Part 1. The car itself. Here's the mindset difference that everything else grows from. In Japan, the car is treated as a piece of equipment that exists in a specific condition, and that condition is either right or it's drifting. There's no third option, and nothing sits at good enough. American car culture treats the vehicle as a fixed object that only requires attention when something breaks. Something makes a noise, you deal with it. Nothing makes a noise, it's fine. Those two philosophies produce radically different fuel bills, and it starts with the simplest thing in the world: weight. Open your trunk right now, mentally. What's actually in there? I've been under and inside more customer vehicles than I can count, and the trunk is always the same story. There's a toolbox somebody bought during a brief home improvement phase in 2019. There's a case of water that's been rolling around since a road trip. There's sports equipment for a sport nobody in the household currently plays. There's a bag of something from the hardware store that never made it into the house. One customer of mine had roughly 40 pounds of paving stones back there, left over from a patio project 2 years earlier. Every 100 pounds you carry costs you roughly 1 to 2% in fuel consumption. That's the physics, and physics doesn't negotiate. If you're carrying 200 pounds of accumulated life in your trunk, which is genuinely typical, and you drive 12,000 miles a year, you're paying a 2 to 4% tax on every single gallon for the entire year. You never see the charge. It never shows up on a statement. It's just quietly built into every fill-up. The Japanese have a word for this: muda. It translates roughly as waste, but that undersells it. Muda specifically means the kind of waste that produces nothing, hurts no one visibly, and costs you continuously. Waste that hides. A trunk full of forgotten weight is textbook muda. It's not hurting you in any way you can feel. It's just taking money from you every mile, forever, in exchange for absolutely nothing. 10 minutes fixes it. Go out there, empty the whole thing, put back the spare, the jumper cables, and whatever you can honestly say you used in the last 30 days. Everything else goes in the garage. Now look up. The roof. A roof rack or a cargo box that lives on your car permanently is one of the most expensive decorative choices in American automotive culture. And I do mean decorative, because if you're not hauling anything, that's exactly what it is. An empty rack costs you somewhere in the range of 5 to 7% at highway speed. Some cargo boxes are considerably worse. You are pushing a hole in the air that's bigger than it needs to be, on every mile, for the aesthetic. A Japanese driver would find this genuinely strange. Not wrong, exactly. Strange. In the same way you'd find it strange if your neighbor left his lawnmower running in the driveway all afternoon while he sat inside watching television. The equipment is on. It's consuming. And it's not doing anything. That's not a moral failing. It's just odd. Take the rack off between trips. It's 5 minutes with a wrench. Then there's tire pressure, and this is where the cultural gap gets wide enough to see from space. In Japan, checking your tires at the pump is not a good habit. It's not a pro tip. It's just what you do, the same way you'd close the car door after getting out. Every fill-up. The air is free, it takes 3 minutes, and the assumption is that anyone who doesn't do it simply hasn't thought about it yet. Here's why it matters more than it sounds. A tire that's 6 Ps. Now low looks completely, perfectly normal. You could stand there staring at it and see nothing. But it's costing you around 3% in fuel because of rolling resistance, which is just the force your engine fights to keep the wheel turning at all. Now, consider that most American cars are running at least one tire under spec at any given moment, and a lot are running all 4. And here's the part nobody tells you. Tires leak, not from damage, not from a nail. Air molecules migrate through rubber. It's just a property of the material. You lose 1 to 2 PS a month doing nothing but existing. So the pressure you set in April is not the pressure you have in July. And it definitely isn't the pressure you have in November. Which brings me to temperature. And this is the one that quietly destroys people's winter fuel economy. For every 10° Fahrenheit drop in ambient temperature, your tires lose roughly 1 psi. So a car that was perfectly inflated on a 70-degree day in September is running 4 or 5 psi low on a 30-degree morning in December. Nothing happened. No puncture, no damage, no warning. Physics just did what physics does. Every winter I hear the same thing from customers. My mileage is terrible in the cold, and they blame the cold air, or the winter gas blend, or the heater. Those are real factors, sure. But a huge chunk of it is that they're driving on 4 soft tires and have been since roughly Halloween. A Japanese driver who checks at every fill-up catches that drift the week it starts. An American driver who checks when the light comes on has been paying for months. That warning light, by the way, doesn't come on until you're around 25% below spec. By the time it's telling you anything, you have been throwing money away for a long time. That's the foundation. The car in the correct condition. Now let's talk about what you do with it. Part 2. Departure. Your fuel consumption for the entire drive is heavily influenced by decisions you make in the first 90 seconds. And this is where most American drivers do the maximum possible damage without ever knowing it. Start with air conditioning, because the standard advice on this is genuinely bad. And I want to say so directly. You've heard it. Skip the AC. Roll the windows down. Save fuel. That advice is lazy. Above about 50 miles per hour, open windows create enough aerodynamic drag to cost you more than the compressor was costing you. You've swapped one expense for a bigger one and congratulated yourself for it. So, no, the answer isn't to suffer. The answer is timing. Here's the expensive moment. Hot day, car's been baking in a parking lot, cabin is at 140 degrees. You get in, start it, and put the AC on max while sitting still. Now think about what you just asked the car to do. The engine is cold and running rich to warm itself up. The compressor is at maximum load. The cabin is at its absolute hottest. So the system has the biggest possible job. And you're at 0 miles per hour, so there's no airflow through the condenser helping it out. Every single variable is at its worst simultaneously. That is the single most expensive minute of your entire drive. And most people do it twice a day. The Japanese approach is almost embarrassingly simple. Before you get in, open the doors or crack the windows and let 60 seconds pass. You're not cooling the car, you're just letting the superheated air, the stuff at the top of the cabin that's hotter than everything else, get out. Then start driving with the windows down for the first minute or two at low speed, where the drag penalty is negligible, and the air moving through the cabin does real work for free. Then close up and switch on the AC. The system starts from a reasonable temperature instead of an insane one, and it never has to hit maximum load. And on the other end, kill the AC about 2 minutes before you arrive. The cabin's already cold. The system already did its job. Those last 2 minutes of comfort are already paid for and sitting in the air around you. Running the compressor to maintain them is like paying twice for the same thing. Now, the other departure question. Warm-up. There's a lot of confusion here, and it's because the truth sits between two loud, wrong opinions. One camp says idle the car for 10 minutes until the gauge moves. That's advice from the carburetor era, and it doesn't apply to anything built in the last 25 years. Extended idling doesn't warm your engine efficiently. It washes unburned fuel past your piston rings into your oil, and it burns fuel to move you 0 feet. The other camp says modern cars need nothing. Start it and go. That ignores the fact that your oil is still down in the pan for the first several seconds, and your transmission fluid is thick, and everything underneath you is cold. The actual answer is the middle. Start it. Give it 30 to 60 seconds, more if it's genuinely cold out. Then drive, but drive gently. Light throttle, moderate speed, no hard acceleration until the gauge starts to move. The engine warms far faster under light load than it does sitting still. And you're actually going somewhere while it happens. That's what the Japanese do, and they don't frame it as a warm-up strategy. It's just that pulling out of a parking spot and immediately demanding everything from a cold engine seems obviously rude to the machine. The gentleness isn't a technique. It's an attitude that happens to be efficient. Part 3. The road. Now we get to the driving itself, and I want to start by dismantling something that a lot of careful, well-meaning drivers believe. The belief is that gentle means slow. That if you want to save fuel, you baby the throttle off every light, ease up to speed, there's a full cup of coffee on the dash, and let the world go around you. That belief is wrong, and it might be costing you fuel rather than saving it. Smooth and slow are not the same thing. The variable that actually matters is RPM, which is just how fast your engine is spinning, which is a direct proxy for how hard it's working. Every gasoline engine has an efficient band, and for normal acceleration, that band sits below roughly 2,500 revolutions per minute. Go above it and consumption climbs sharply. Stay below it and you're operating where the engine wants to be. Here's the trap. When you accelerate too gently, you don't shift. The transmission holds you in second gear for 15-20 seconds, and second gear at 25 miles per hour is a higher RPM than fourth gear at 40. So the driver who thinks they're being gentle is actually holding the engine at elevated RPM for a longer period than the driver who accelerated with purpose and got to top gear in 6 seconds. You didn't save anything. You extended the expensive part. What you actually want is firm and controlled. Enough throttle to move decisively through the gears, never crossing that RPM ceiling, settling into your cruise as fast as reasonably possible. Deliberate, not timid, not aggressive either. There's a real difference between pressing the pedal with intent and stomping on it. And your right foot knows the difference even if nobody's ever named it for you. Japanese driving instruction teaches this outright. The goal is not to be the slowest thing on the road. The goal is to be the most efficient thing on the road. And those turn out to be very different targets. I had a customer years back, older gentleman, Civic in excellent shape. No mechanical issues whatsoever. Absolutely convinced there was something wrong because he wasn't getting anywhere near the EPA number. Rode with him for 10 minutes. He was pulling away from lights so cautiously that the transmission had no reason to upshift. Engine grinding away at high RPM in a low gear, crawling forward, and in his mind he was doing everything right. We spent 1 tank working on it. His mileage came up almost 15%. Nothing changed but his foot. Now, speed. Every car has a range where the engine, the transmission, and the shape of the body are all cooperating. Engineers call it the sweet spot. For most American cars and light trucks, it lands between 45 and 55 miles per hour. Not 65, not 75. The reason is aerodynamic drag, and drag doesn't scale politely. It scales with the square of your speed. Going from 55 to 75 isn't a modest increase in the air you're pushing. It's close to double. Your engine has to produce that extra work, and the only place that work comes from is the tank. Now, I'm not going to insult you by suggesting you cruise an interstate at 50. That's not safe and it's not realistic, and anybody who tells you to do it has never driven in American traffic. What I'm telling you is that above 65, you are outside the efficient window and paying for it. And that on every road where the sweet spot is actually practical. Back roads, rural highways, suburban arterials, most of your local driving. You should be living in it. Japanese drivers use that window constantly. American drivers rarely do because nobody ever told them it existed. There's another way to find it too. It's not just about the number on the speedometer. If you have a tachometer, look for the range between roughly 1,500 and 2,200 revolutions per minute in your highest gear. That's where the combustion cycle is doing its best work, where the engine is producing useful output without strain. Next time you're on a comfortable stretch at around 50, glance down. Wherever that needle is sitting, that's your car's natural resting state. That's the position it would choose if you asked it. Part 4. Slowing down. This is where the free money is, and almost nobody in this country collects it. Most American drivers have exactly one deceleration tool: the brake pedal. See a reason to slow, press the pedal. It's what driver's ed taught, it works, and it's completely reasonable as far as it goes. But there's a second tool. It's in every car built in the last 20+ years, and it costs nothing. Engine braking. And here's the mechanics. When you're in gear, wheels connected to the drivetrain, and you take your foot completely off the accelerator, the computer sees zero throttle request and cuts the fuel injectors almost entirely. Not partially, almost entirely. The engine keeps spinning because the wheels are turning it. The compression in the cylinders creates resistance, and the car slows down. On essentially no fuel? Ride that again. You are decelerating, and the injectors are closed. The car is slowing itself for free. This isn't a hack. It's not a loophole. It's how fuel injection was designed to work, deliberately by the engineers who built your car. It's called deceleration fuel cutoff, and it's been standard for decades. Almost no American driver knows it exists. Because driver's ed doesn't mention it, and nobody selling you gasoline has any reason to bring it up. Japanese drivers live in this. They read the road far ahead, and I'm going to tell you exactly how far ahead in a few minutes. And they time their approach so that engine braking does the work, and the brake pedal only handles the last part. In city driving, a good driver can cover an entire block without touching either pedal. Off the gas at the corner, roll slow, arrive at the light barely moving, having spent nothing for several hundred feet. The change is simple to describe and takes a while to build. Stop reaching for the brake the moment you see a reason to slow. Lift first. Let the car do it. Bring in the brake pedal only for the final part of the stop, or when you actually need to shed speed quickly. And there's a second payoff here that compounds. Brake pads wear in proportion to how hard and how often you use them. A driver who arrives at stops already slow, having coasted in on engine compression, can get 60, 70, even 80,000 miles out of a set of pads. A reactive driver, gas until the last second, then hard on the brakes, is replacing them at 30 or 40. A brake job at a chain shop runs $300 to $400 easily. So the same habit is paying you twice, in fuel and in parts. The Japanese don't separate these things. They're not doing engine braking to save fuel and separately noticing their brakes last longer. It's one thing, operating the car without waste, and the benefits show up wherever they show up. Part 5. The thing that makes everything work. Everything I've told you so far. The weight, the pressure, the AC timing, the acceleration control, the speed window, the engine braking, every single piece of it depends on one thing that isn't a technique at all. It's not a setting. It's not something you do with your hands or your feet. It's a decision about where you point your eyes. Anticipatory driving. In Japan, this isn't advanced. It's not for enthusiasts. It's the baseline expectation of what it means to be competent behind the wheel the same way staying in your lane is. It means reading the road 15 to 20 seconds ahead of where you currently are. Not 3 seconds, not the bumper in front of you. 15 to 20 seconds out. At highway speed, that's about a quarter mile. In town, it's 2 or 3 blocks. It is, for most drivers, an entirely unexplored region of the world. Here's what it does for you. The light turns yellow a quarter-mile ahead. You're off the gas immediately. You coast in on engine braking. Maybe it cycles back to green, and you roll through without ever stopping, which means you never pay the enormous cost of re-accelerating from zero. Maybe it's still red, and you arrive at 8 miles an hour instead of 35. Either outcome, you have spent almost nothing. The driver beside you, foot in it until 50 feet from the line, has paid full price for the exact same trip. You see brake lights 3 cars up. Not the car in front of you. 3 cars up. You're off the gas before the driver ahead of you has even reacted. To everyone around you, it looks like reflexes. It's not reflexes. It's just that you were looking at a part of the road they've decided not to look at. A merge is coming. A hill. A school zone. You've already adjusted before any of it becomes a situation. You're never scrambling, because you never let anything reach the point where scrambling is required. This is the piece that makes the rest of the list real. Engine braking is worthless if you don't see the slowdown in time to use it. The efficient speed window is unusable if you're constantly chasing and reacting to traffic. Smooth acceleration is pointless if you're always recovering from a stop you should have avoided. The measured gap between a reactive driver and an anticipatory driver, same car, same route, same day, comes in repeatedly at 20 to 30%. 20 to 30%. That's not a different engine. That's not an additive or a chip or a new set of plugs. That is the difference between 2 people looking in 2 different places. And I'll be honest with you about the difficulty. This is the hardest thing on this list, and the reason is that American road design actively fights it. Wide lanes, high speeds, aggressive lane changes, merges with no warning. Someone doing 60 in the right lane and someone doing 90 in the left. The environment trains you into reactive mode. It rewards short-range attention and punishes anything else. So looking further out has to be a deliberate choice you make every time you get in the car until it stops being a choice. In my experience with people who actually try this, it takes about 3 weeks. 3 weeks of consciously reminding yourself, and then one day you realize you've stopped reminding yourself. There's a drill for it, and it's slightly ridiculous, which is why it works. Before you pull out of any parking space, say the words 20 seconds. Out loud if you're alone. It sounds silly. Do it anyway. It sets your visual horizon before you've moved an inch. Then, at your first red light, don't look at the car ahead of you. Look at the next light. And the one past that. What color are they? What's the pattern? You're retraining your eyes to stop treating the nearest object as the most important one. Most people spend their entire driving lives inside a bubble about 1 car length deep. 20 seconds of road is a different planet. And here's the thing that makes it stick. Once you can see it, you can't unsee it. You will never go back to the small bubble, because the large one is more useful in every way, and it costs you nothing to look. The Japanese, by the way, don't call this a fuel-saving strategy. They wouldn't recognize that framing. They just call it attentive driving. The efficiency isn't the goal. It's what falls out naturally when you operate a machine the way it was designed to be operated. Without urgency it didn't need. Without work it didn't have to do. And the side effects go well past fuel. Your brakes last. Your tires last. Your passengers stop noticing that they're in a car, and you will likely never make another hard emergency stop for as long as you drive, because you'll see everything early enough that emergencies stop being emergencies. So, let me pull the whole method together. The car has to be right first. Empty trunk, no dead weight, no rack up there when there's nothing to carry. Tires checked every single fill-up, not once a month, and especially when the temperature drops because cold air deflates your tires, whether you're paying attention or not. Departure has to be right. Vent the cabin before you get in on a hot day. Let the road air do the first minute of cooling, then use the AC like an intelligent adult and shut it off 2 minutes before you arrive. 30 to 60 seconds of idle after a cold start, then gentle driving. Not 10 minutes of standing still and not a hard launch out of the lot. The driving has to be right. Firm controlled acceleration below 2,500 RPM, moving through the gears with purpose instead of dragging in a low gear thinking you're being careful. Living in the 45 to 55 window wherever the road allows it. Lifting early and letting engine braking do the work. saving the brake pedal for when you genuinely need it. And all of it sitting on top of a single decision. 20 seconds ahead, not the bumper, not the next car. 20 seconds. Not one thing on that list costs $1. No parts, no shop, no mechanic, no additive, no chip, no subscription. Just a method. Built one habit at a time, applied every time you turn the key. The Japanese figured this out a long time ago and stopped thinking of it as remarkable. The gas stations in this country are quietly counting on the fact that you never will. Tell me in the comments which part you're starting with tomorrow. I read all of them.